Hey everyone, welcome to Strange Stories, where we explore near-death experiences and supernatural stories from people who've had a glimpse of the other side. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's get to the story of the day. My death experience, or DE, occurred on February 14, 1988. It was a long time ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I'll keep this short and jump straight into the transitory part, skipping over how I got there. Here we go. I was seated on a bench in an unnoticed nook of this crowded and noisy place. There was music playing and people talking and laughing, when all of a sudden there was complete silence. I stood in a warm black velvety darkness. There looked to be a curtain in this area, which appeared to be a nice waiting room, a large black velvety stage curtain like you'd find in a New York theater. Just by gazing at it, I could sense the curtain. I could sense the blackness, the softness, and the velvety texture of it. It was quite soothing. I could hear faint sounds from my previous location, but my attention was drawn to what was in front of me. I grabbed the curtain. When I pulled back the curtain, I emerged from the darkness into the most dazzling green grass and the bluest sky. It was breathtaking. Between me and the shallow stream bank was about a 6-foot strip of grass. The luxuriant grass ran left and right along the stream bank for what seemed like miles. I glanced at the water as it ran by itself, producing small bumps as it went. The lake was lovely, and the grass blended in wonderfully. It looked like a neatly manicured and landscaped yard. The stream appeared to be approximately 20 feet broad and dipped somewhat in the middle, so I knew it wasn't very deep. I was lured to the opposite side of the creek bank. Several hazy shapes appeared across the stream, and I could feel them more strongly. I could feel the incredible energy emanating from their shapes and the location where they stood. I was taking everything in. I knew where I'd come from being here, but that wasn't where I was now. I was perplexed, but it didn't seem to bother me. The only thing that mattered was that instant, and I found myself drawn to that spot across the creek. I took a step forward and went to the nearest bank. It made sense to me. If I step in and move about 20 feet, I'll be on the other side of the stream bank where those folks were, and the atmosphere was incredible. But I didn't know who was over there. They had to be people. I was confident. What else could they possibly be? I live in a people's world. I dipped my foot into the stream, and the water barely covered the top of my foot. The water was cool and soothing, and it danced around my feet as it moved. I dropped my right foot into the stream as well and stood there just a few inches deep. The water had covered both of my feet and was now dancing around both of them as I was entirely immersed in the stream. Moving approximately 6 or 7 feet from where I had pulled back the velvety curtain, I could see more clearly that there were people on the other side of the stream, and I wanted to be there. It was then that I heard for the first time there had been no actual sounds that had captivated my attention up to that point, but that was about to change. My desire to be on the other side was abruptly interrupted by a sound that came from everywhere and nowhere in particular. It just was. It was also a sound that I felt in my essence rather than one that I heard with my ears. It talked to me without using words, and when I became aware of it, I knew there was nothing I could do about it. It sounded like how a male voice would sound if spoken, yet it wasn't. It was addressed straight to me, to my mind. I was taken aback. This was a really unusual experience. I hadn't heard any actual sounds since I arrived, but that wasn't significant. The stillness, on the other hand, was incredibly serene and just was. The voice was both calming and powerful. "Where are you?" I could feel the gravity of the inquiry. "I'm at the same to New York," I replied as a 19-year-old. As I finished the word, York, I became aware of thumping music and people conversing around me. I was stunned by the cacophony, the horrifying noise, the clatter of 100 different sounds competing for my ears at the same time. My rationale was bouncing around in my head. What was that? And why am I hearing this right now? I remember thinking. No, I don't feel right. As quickly as my thoughts formed, I was back at the stream, hearing the sound of bass and chaos trailing off, now replaced by the beautiful silence. I was standing in the stream as if I hadn't moved. I observed where I was in the stream and felt the draw to move forward. The noises I just heard were irrelevant and forgotten to me now. I needed to get to the other bank. With a bit of annoyance in my response because I'd been asked the same question as before, I snapped, "I'm at the St. to New York." I became aware of that awful noise again, but also became aware that I was lying on the floor. I sensed a couple of people close to me. I could make out a couple of things they said. My ears picked up their sounds. "I don't think he's breathing." And I replied, somewhat irritably, "I told you before, I am at the St. to New York." Instantly, I left the stream and was standing surrounded by the thick, black, velvety curtain. I felt the love around me, immersed and never fearful. As I stood there, I felt the presence of a tall being behind me. The presence was immense, and though I was not afraid, I knew I was not allowed to turn around. It would be too much for you. I didn't ask any questions. I could tell the being wasn't male or female. It told me telepathically, "I have some things you need to see and understand." The being raised its left arm over my left shoulder, revealing its arm from the elbow down. It wasn't terribly important at the time, but I was aware of it. There was a large sleeve that ended only a few inches from the wrist. It didn't tell me what I was witnessing, but rather let me watch the play while it made its point. It was in a high school setting, and as I faced the people I knew, it was great. There were many friends, and we were laughing, telling jokes and kidding around. It was an everyday scene, any day. However, when I turned back to walk away, it became jarring. My friends suddenly began saying horrible and hurtful things about me, teasing, saying rumors about me. The second vision, revealed to me through another scene, used the very location I was in that evening, though it was clear to me that I was no longer in that space. The Saint in New York City, a mega club on 2nd Avenue in Manhattan, an amazing collection of stage, lighting, and music to satisfy the economic thirst of some investors, to make money off the backs of those looking to blow off steam and have an amazing night out on the town stage. The massive dance floor appeared in front of us, pulsing with thousands of lights, creating an alluring sight combined with beautiful bass and treble blaring speakers, enticing the crowd to dance to the rhythm of a universal beat, like a hammer rhythm, with each player dancing in their own space and world. It was tremendous delight to see the players dancing and enjoying themselves, till the light from my guide blossomed and engaged the players. The screaming and screeching of the players quickly drowned out the percussion and electronic music. The players' worries were visible in their eyes, and they did their best to avoid the light penetrating deep into their being. The third vision presented to me was a beautiful vision of completion. It wasn't until lately, the beginning of 2020, that I was finally able to integrate this into my personal experience. My guide's finger rose once more on my shoulder, presumably for the third vision of knowledge. This was a beautiful and joyful vision that serves as a fitting conclusion to my own trip. It took me until recently, in the year 2020, to better appreciate its context in relation to my experience. The scenario played out as 1 and 2, but on a far larger scale. The foreground features the smoothest stage of pure gold, with stairs on either side. Again, as the recipient of the communication, I was the major character in the story. I was waiting in line with others to walk across the stage. For 30 years, the clarity of the accomplishment for which I would be commended eluded me. Though I recall it like it was yesterday, there have been a few days in our clock-driven reality where I have not attempted to logically examine the cause for this exhilarating yet perplexing scene. Also, the visions, sequencing, whys, true meaning, and other human concepts that allow for humility while being rewarded with such respect in a realm that I was honored to experience my position in its unique operation. What did I do to earn this? This caused me significant emotional suffering for many years because my youthful religious education saw the entire event and following ideas about my role in it as hearsay and craziness. A memorable point in this graduate ceremony for me was pausing halfway across the stage and turning my head left. This was a moment to pause and turn around to hear the wonderful song sung in unison and with such elegance. Something our physical world would never understand stopped me and humbled me. The simple words of one of our planet's greatest gurus, Jesus, "It is completed," resonated true to me. All the events in my life have led to this, to get my soul through the duties I pledged to accomplish in order to elevate my spirit. The vision as a bookend is a big relief, since everything happens between now and graduation day, and this validates the sentence he uttered. It has been completed. I hopped up and felt reborn when I awoke. I don't recall anyone assisting me, but we were out of there in less than half an hour. I didn't require any medical attention. The environment appeared dramatically different when I walked out the front doors. I could see people's pain when I looked at them. It terrified me, and I fought with it for almost a year until a dream I had the next year on the same date. As I laid in bed at college, a white light came into my dream at a great distance from me, and then I could see it flying toward me, enough for me to sense the need to wake myself up, which I was able to do just as the light touched me and consumed every fiber of my body. I was expecting to be literally glowing. I laid there for a bit, just to feel it. Then I went to the mirror, certain that my pulsating body would physically sparkle. It wasn't, but I stood there looking at myself in the mirror for a few minutes anyhow. I suppose that love was assisting me as a confirmation of my experience.